We continue with Drive Time. Without further ado, though, let's get you my conversation from earlier today. After a lot of arguing on Orange Nation about when we should end the show, will I get to the 2:15 chat with Adam? We got to it on time. Some of you will be happy to know. And it was a lovely chat, as always, with Adam Terry. Here is our weekly visit with Adam. Time now for our weekly conversation with Adam Terry, as we always catch up with the color man on the radio for the Syracuse Sports Network from Learfield here on Wednesdays. And Adam, the big news coming out of the press conference on Monday, I guess a couple things from Fran's press conference back on Monday. One, he announced that both coordinators are seemingly coming back, being Elijah Robinson, the defensive coordinator, and Jeff Nixon, the offensive coordinator. We can get into that in a little bit and some of the news that has trickled out this week about some of the key contributors that have also announced they are going to be a part of the Syracuse team next year. But maybe the biggest news for this week is Fran made it seem like it will be Joe Filardi who is starting this game against Notre Dame. Joe Filardi confirmed last night when he was talking to the media that he has taken all of the first-team reps in the bye week and throughout this week. What was your reaction to hearing Fran rolling with Joe Filardi for obviously a tough test here against Notre Dame?
Yeah, I mean, as you started to see against Miami, he sent out a crew of captains that were all freshmen. Right, so I think he's embracing the youth movement, and it's a situation where it seems as though they're preparing for next season, getting guys ready, get them some valuable playing experience, and under the bright lights against Notre Dame and South Bend. I mean, that's a great opportunity for a lot of them, and realistically, it should be a good fight against Boston College, right? Like, you never want to say that it's a good fight when you're at that level right now, but you should be able to go out there and put a lot of young guys out there and give valuable time.
Do you think that plays a part in this decision? You start Filardi in this game, and then maybe he's got a little bit more experience under his belt when you can potentially and probably should beat BC at home next week. And I think we're all in agreement that it would be good for everyone involved in the program if they could just end the season on a high note, get a win, and you never want to lose to a BC team that is struggling as much as they are with one win right now. So do you think there's something to be said for that? Fran is sort of taking into account, all right, how can we create the best situation for Boston College next week?
Well, I think yes, but also, getting guys pivotal snaps in a big-time game. And yes, it may not be a big-time game on the schedule per se, but it is a big-time game when you step out onto that field against the Golden Domers. It doesn't matter where you are, it's a big-time game. So I think getting a guy like Joe Filardi, who seems to be the incumbent backup quarterback next year, if that's what we're starting to see, some valuable snaps and see what he can do. So now you're starting to really take a look at what you are and who you are with your depth chart. And this week we've seen a couple guys come out and say that they're coming back and they're ready to roll. And that's promising as well.
Yeah, certainly. We can get into that in just a little bit. Adam Terry is with us here, and he'll be on the call for Syracuse and Notre Dame on the Syracuse Sports Network from Learfield. It'll be a 3:30 kickoff from South Bend on Saturday. Last time the Orange were out there against Miami, Joe Filardi was the one who took them down the field, and they scored a touchdown in garbage time late in that game. We also saw them run the ball pretty effectively, I'd say, against a good Miami rush defense. We saw Yasin Willis get into the second level a little bit more than we've seen. Do you think that is the game plan here going against Notre Dame? I know it's easier said than done, but do you think we will see a little bit more of leaning on the ground game, knowing it's Joe Filardi making the start? Or what's your sort of overall viewpoint on what we saw in the Miami game in terms of how they ran the football?
I think it's been pretty evident that they're going to go in the game plan and not really try to change much, right? Like we heard going into the Miami game about Ricky Collins and adapting the offense to him. And, with a guy going in like Joe Filardi, it's, you're having a bye week, having an opportunity to get that under your belt, having taken all those snaps. I mean, that's crucial. And at this point in time, no, I wouldn't really deviate from much. I mean, you're going to have to open the playbook, and if you get behind, you're going to have to throw the football, right? And you're going to have to manage the clock at the beginning of the game by having run the football. I don't think that we see much different, and it's going to be, we're going to put the best guys that we feel is in our current program and see what they can get done.
You talked about some of the players hinting that they're coming back next year, sort of announcing that they're coming back next year. Let's also talk about the coordinators. I teased that sort of off the top, but Fran just came out and said in his Monday press conference when he was asked, will Elijah Robinson and Jeff Nixon be back next year? Yes, they will be back next year. Of course, maybe they could change their mind in the offseason, but it seems like that is the plan right now. What's your takeaway from hearing that? And I know we're both big fans of Jeff Nixon. It also feels like the defense has been put in a really tough situation this year. But knowing that Elijah Robinson and Jeff Nixon are both coming back next year, do you view that as a big positive for Syracuse?
Oh, 100%. And I also think it's huge, especially because recruiting, National Letter of Intent type signing date was not too far away from that.
December 3rd, I think, is the early signing day.
So you want to be able to keep as many guys in there. You want to make sure that you're putting on the face of what the future is going to be. You know, hey, if these are my guys, you already saw on the offensive side of the football that, you know, they let Miles White and they did some go and they started to do some rearranging. So I think offensively, outside of a coach deciding to leave themselves, I don't know how much shifting will be done. And then defensively, you got to keep those guys off the field to really get an indicator of who they are and what they're capable of doing. So, and when I say that, they have to go out on the field. I understand that, but not inundating them with a lot of snaps, right? And having three phases of the game work in, some type of syncretic nature. So I think when you come out and you give the thumbs up and say, hey, these are my guys, we always knew that they were Fran Brown's guys, and now you have an understanding of what they're trying to get done during the off season. And I think the biggest thing, if we're looking at coaches, is I feel Fran has done a tremendous job of bringing the established coaches into the fold, like a Gaddis or a Don Brown or Coyle, right? Like bringing those guys in, I think that's a fantastic opportunity to really go out and get that done, and make sure that there's a lot of great minds in a room talking football.
Is this the best the Syracuse football staff has been in your time since you were a player and onward in terms of covering the team in this role? And I'm talking about not just offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, but what you're talking about there, where he's got a Gaddis who has, been a Broyles Award winner, who's in the fold from the start of this season. Don Brown, he's able to tap into as a resource, and now he's helping out the team. Like the overall staff, is this the best it's been?
Well, I always determine stats and coaches by wins, right? Like that. Sure. That's the number one thing. So, we're fighting uphill a little bit on that one. But as far as the next thing is are they teachers? Are they educators? Can they get more out of the kid than the kid thinks he can give? And I would say, me being around the program, it's probably one of the better coaching staffs from a Coach P era, or in a sense of, it seems like it's a tight-knit group of guys. They're all vested in the same process and progress with it. So, I would say it's probably one of the better coaching staffs as far as awards as well, right? Like you're saying that, and the Broyle Award with Gaddis, and then Jeff Nixon being in the hunt with everything last year. So. Yeah, I think it's a tremendous opportunity to get some of these young guys in that they're going to finish up this recruiting class and really start to reinvigorate the program with some youth. The best part of what we had talked about is that there are guys that are staying, so that building blocks will remain, and you can really start to make some progress, because if you come out of this season and guys are out the door, which some will be, but if it's a majority of guys, it puts you in a tough spot. It doesn't matter how well you can recruit, you have to retain nowadays in order to really build a program.
Yeah, and it seems like Fran Brown is doing a very good job of that, and the entire staff is doing a very good job of that. We chatted with Steve Angeli last night as something that we taped for the Learfield pregame show on Saturday, and he confirmed he is coming back. And he seems very confident, like Yasin Willis seems very confident, and like Demetrius Samuel seems very confident that they're coming back next year, and they're going to bring in talent, and they're going to be good next year, legitimately good. And obviously there's a lot to fall back on with Steve, where you saw it work for a 3-1 start, and he was leading the nation in passing yards. But when you hear, okay, Steve Angeli's coming back, Yasin Willis is coming back, Demetrius Samuel seems to be coming back, you start to see these dominoes falling. What are the expectations, I guess, if you had to answer that question this far out for next year, knowing that they're going to have some of these key pieces in place, and it's a young team that hopefully is learning from this year?
I'm excited, right? Cautiously optimistic, especially with a guy like Steve Angeli. I hold him in high regard. I thought that he developed from the first day that he got on the field against Tennessee and blossomed against Clemson, and unfortunately had a catastrophic injury where he's out for the season. But Achilles is a tough one to come back from. So, yes, there are cautiously optimistic. The luxury with a guy like Angeli coming back off of injury is that whoever that backup is going to get a lot of reps. So whether he's in the building currently or you're going to go out and find somebody that you think you can groom and put into that position, that person's going to get a lot of reps. So I'm excited about that. And, if everything goes well with Steve Angeli and he comes back to form, that's a formidable team that you're going to put out on that field, especially with a lot of young talent that's starting to play towards the end of the year. But overall, can you make a statement of hey, what do you think? And what do you think that the schedule and outcomes are going to be? There's zero clue. Right. Sure. I think right now what you're trying to do is you're trying to hold everybody tight, keep them inside the building, make sure that there's not a lot of guys that are wandering out the door looking for more money or looking for a brighter future. And you start to now thin what you put so much time and effort into. But overall, this offseason is going to be definitely the biggest for Fran Brown and what he's trying to get accomplished, because I believe he does have some good building blocks, and now it's just making sure that those building blocks can progress. Guy like Byron Washington getting some time in there, Cam Pringle on the offensive line. They're going to get considerably better with time, spring ball, effort. So, those are kind of the big things of. We saw last year we lost a heavy class, a lot of guys going into the NFL and a lot of guys playing in the NFL, whether that's practice squad or whether they're out on the field. And, that hurt us, right, especially at the quarterback position. So, these next 2 weeks to me are huge, because this is you're taking a peek at what you have, what's coming in, and then also potentially what's out there. Because I think that is, you can't shy away from the fact that you are looking elsewhere in some situations to get better faster, and sometimes that's not necessarily the case. But I will say this, the two positions that you have to develop over a period of time is going to be offensive line and defensive line. I was having a conversation with a couple coaches last week, and that's basically what it came down to, is you can plug in a corner every once in a while, or, you'd like a little bit more time with a quarterback. But that O-line and D-line, just building continuity and camaraderie within those rooms, and then to take that out on the field, it takes time. It takes time because, as we've seen, we've gone out and grabbed a couple guys, and they've shown brilliance at some points, but other points, some inconsistency. So you want to have two deep that you feel very comfortable going into a game with.
Yeah, that's a good point on the defensive line. They're going to need to really hit the portal pretty hard on really both the offensive line and the defensive line, it feels like. And keep in mind, you only have that one portal window starting this year. It's January. So like you were saying, it might be time already to start turning your attention a little bit towards what do we need in the portal, who is out there in the portal, right? Knowing that it is just that one window this year.
Yeah, and it's funny because as you start to watch some of the games, I catch the tail end of a lot of games, and when people are going and you see the final interview with the star player or the head coach, but there's always a couple staffers that are lurking in the background. And that, a couple of these were the SEC schools that have an arm around a guy that's chatting them up, and you're like, I wonder what they're really talking about.
Yeah.
And those are kind of the things that are disruptive, but it's also, you're blind if you're not going to do it yourselves and have conversations and build relationships with players that might have decided to go somewhere else that are now looking for a home.
All right, Adam, great insight as always. Enjoy the trip to South Bend, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Awesome. Talk to you guys later.
All right, there's Adam Terry. Always good to chat with Adam Terry every Wednesday on the show. We'll work in our final break on the show tonight. Come back with some shout-outs on the other side. You're listening to Drive Time on ESPN Radio, QSportsTalk.com.
Compact yet